art class. We're going over how to color in Adobe Illustrator using the color selector, fill tool, and stroke tool. So I've got my illustration here that I want to color, and if I turn off the image in my layers panel, I have the body outlined, which I'm going to color today. So I'm going over here to the fill tool, which right now I have none selected. I'm going to select the body, because that's what I want to color, and double click the fill tool. So I'm going to do this red color. We'll do this one here. Click OK. Try that again. The layer was selected, but my object was not. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now that is selected. If you want to go back to it at any time, you can go to eyedropper and click it, and it will come up the color that you want it to be. You can also make swatches of color over here on the side. You can just go to rectangle tool, draw a rectangle, and then you've got a swatch of that color that you can always reference. It's really up to you, whatever your preference is. Okay, so now that I've got that, and I should have already drawn an outline for my shadow. I didn't, but I'm going to now. So I'm going to actually deselect that, and I'm going to go to the pen tool. It's going to create a new layer for me, and I'm going to select here. Oops, go back. I'm going to select here and come down here. I'm going to click, hold, and drag. That's where my shadow is going to be. And I'm going to go back to the anchor point, reset it, go here, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come back to this anchor point up here, and I'm going to click and drag. Now the hard thing is, that my artboard moved on me, but you have to kind of match this outline here. So I'm going to try to do that as best as I can. It's not going to be perfect, but neither is my tomato. Okay, so now that color is red. I want it to be a shade darker so that I can use a shade. So I'm going to double click while this is selected, double click the fill tool, and I'm just going to go a shade darker. You can go as dark as you want to go. I'm going to give it a deep shadow. So I'm going to use this color here. Click OK. And now my tomato has a shadow. And I can click off of it there and there. You can see over here it says path. I'll do left, left, body, shadow. Okay. Also, it has a stroke. So I want this to look like a real shadow. So I'm going to select it with my select tool, and I'm going to turn off the stroke. And that's going to make it look like it transitions from the tomato to the shadow. I'll go back and fix this later. But that's going to make it look like a real shadow. And then you would do the same thing with a highlight. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to put a little highlight right here using the pen tool. So I'm going to start here and click here, and then go back to my anchor to reset, and then click here, click and drag. There. It really should go all the way to the edge. It's not great, but it'll do for this demonstration. So I'm going to go to the fill tool, and I'm going to do a highlight. So we started off around here, and I'm just going to go up here for a highlight. You can even do a really light highlight if you want. That looks kind of weird. I'm going to do a lighter one. And again, you want to make sure that there's no stroke. So then you've got a highlight there. And this will all come together once you do the rest of the image and you're consistent with where your highlights are versus where your shadows are. It will come together and it won't look so awkward. But that's how you're going to do your highlights and your shadows. Again, it's easier if you make sure that you're labeling things in your layers panel so that you can reference it later. Alright guys, that's all I have for you for coloring your cartoon illustrators.